Most of the conflict in your relationship is just trauma on trauma. It's your behaviors triggering her trauma. And what ends up happening is you become the antithesis of a safe person in her life. And when you become the opposite of a safe person, guess what? She goes into survival mode. She walls off, closes herself off, and your lack of emotional intelligence, your lack of emotional availability, your lack of empathy ends up triggering her emotional abandonment from her past. Because we all carry things into a relationship. And it's our job as somebody's spouse to be aware of how our behavior triggers their past. It's not to take toxic ownership of it. It's to become aware of it. So what we can work to change it. Because the only difference between a damaging relationship and a healing relationship is safety and security. How do you become safe? How do you create security? You do that by being someone who can understand, who can take feedback, who can acknowledge that they're wrong, who can remove their ego, who can be emotionally available, who can be vulnerable, who can be honest, who can be transparent, who can control their emotions. But see, when we don't understand that, we don't have X-ray vision. Therefore, we can't see what the actual problem is. The problem is not a problem inside the relationship, inside of some communication. That's where the problem shows up. The problem is your lack of emotional intelligence. It's your lack of emotional awareness, your inability to self-regulate. That's why everybody becomes the collateral damage to what you do. It's not a problem in your marriage. It's a problem inside of you. And when you change the man that shows up to the marriage, you get a different marriage. You can't use your power through mentality that you use in business inside of your relationship. You never believed that listening could be a solution. You never believed that just reflecting back to your wife. You never believed that just being present and making eye contact could solve the problem. See, we never think like this. And because we don't think like this, we end up making it worse. Because we end up invalidating her. And that invalidation, when she starts to sense that invalidation, like you're telling her she shouldn't feel that way, or it's not right. See, some wounds that we inflict are so painful emotionally that we don't even observe how the person is actually being affected. And then you look around one day at something that you love so much and you realize that it was so small in comparison to what it could be. Meaning that beautiful romantic marriage that you had, the healthy, passionate relationship that you had has turned to dust. Has turned to rubble and ashes because you didn't invest in it. Because you didn't pour into it. And then you look around one day and you wonder, is it too late? Is it too late for me to turn things around? It's only too late when you keep walking down this road, watching videos like this and not taking action. Men in the Total Breakthrough Academy, inside my private program, are getting breakthroughs every day. Gentleman just told me today, after 7 months of being separated from his wife, they got back together. 7 months, completely in separate homes, living apart, and they got back together. Why? Because of his personal investment. Stop sitting on the sideline and waiting for more problems to show up before you take action. Just because you don't observe all the external consequences doesn't mean there's not internal consequences inside of you and your wife.